Okay, well, you've got this, the best of the ballads and the blues, which is kind of confusing as a title because, of course, we know you for your ballads, but I don't think of the blues when I think of Poison. So can you explain that?
Sure. You know, over the years, the one thing that's kept us out in the arenas and playing is that besides just being a party rock band with tunes like Unskinny Bop, Nothing But a Good Time, Talk Dirty to Me, we've also had songs after my friend died, Something to Believe In, after Chemo passed away, and we had Every Rose, you know, when the girl ripped my heart out, which, you know, luckily it was a #1 hit and I got even with her, you know, and you know, but those things, I think those things as ballads are important because they're parts of your soul, and music for me is about writing what you feel. The good times and the bad times. I was influenced growing up with the blues stuff, you know, country music. I was raised, the first thing I learned to play was acoustic guitar and the harmonica, right? And, you know, I was raised on Dylan, also a lot of country music. My dad, you know, I was sort of a mixture between like Glenn Campbell and Aerosmith, you know? And so I got all this, and that's where the blues on each one of our records, the first one, second one, they're all 10 albums. We always have a blues song in there where I play harmonica and I do it on stage. So that's what we wanted to show fans, a little different side of Poison.
Okay, so that's Poison right now. We're going to check out a video, though, from their first album released back in 1986. This one is I Want Action on Power Hour. Stick around, more with Poison's Bret Michaels when Power Hour returns.
This is what I say, don't need nothing but a good time.
Our motto's always been, if you can't do it right, do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? As long if you're doing it, at least someone's going to take notice. You know what I'm saying?
You can either step on a cockroach, right, or you can poison it. And if you poison it, usually some of them will survive, some of them will die right, some of them will survive, take it back to their nest and poison the other one. That's sort of the way we work. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to die on us right away. You're not going to love us right away. You know, it's a little, but that's what sort of gives us our longevity then, too, is that it's not easily digestible right off the bat. It's the stuff that you choke on that you remember. It's not the stuff that goes down easy.
We're trying to mix the perfect mixture between musicianship and showmanship, and I think that that's really important. You can't be all show or you become a clown, and if you're too musicianship, it slightly becomes boring.
Welcome back to Power Hour. We're chatting with Bret Michaels of Poison fame. Let's talk about Hollywood, released last year. This album marked pretty much, you know, you got a lot of critical acclaim for this album. And so I always wonder, what has been your relationship with the critics throughout the years?
You know, it's definitely a love-hate relationship. I think we're very important. Poison is an important band for the critics because who else are they going to hate as much as they've hated us, right? I mean, it keeps them a job, it gives them a job, you know? And, but we've also had some great reviews over the years, too. 2 of them, I've kept both of them. And they, you know, and oddly enough, a couple of them came from Toronto and Montreal, strangely enough. But, you know, with me, I've always had this attitude. You go out, you have a great time. We've always stuck to our guns. I do what I want to do. There is nothing any critic is going to say that's going to stop me from doing what I want to do or take away what I've done.
Clearly not, but is it something that hurts when you hear negative criticisms? Is it something that you had to work on?
You know what, anybody who writes their own music and puts as much into their show as we do, when you get an absolutely bad review of a guy who they sent down who loves only hip-hop, and he sends them to review your show, and he writes stuff in there, and you know it's coming from a guy who doesn't like your music, that pisses you off because I want to call. In fact, I've done this many times. I've called the paper, and I've been like, look, send down a guy who likes rock. And if I have a bad show, I don't mind a bad review. I know if I'm singing bad or we played bad or the show wasn't good, but let someone who likes our genre of music review it. Don't send down a guy that hates me, and here's my reason. If he hates your band and you have a great show, he hates you even more. And if you have a bad show, he's going to say it's bad, so it's a lose-lose. And the only time I ever get really pissed off is if it's an unfair review, because believe me, I put my heart and soul into the music and the show. Yeah. And the reason we've been around 18 years playing arenas, we must have done something occasionally right to still be there.
Well, the fans clearly love you, obviously.
Yes, and that's what matters.
I guess it's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Right? Your debut album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, were you surprised how quickly, it was almost an overnight success. I mean, how did that change your lifestyle in Hollywood? What kind of doors did it open for you?
Well, I can tell you this much. When Look What the Cat Dragged In, when we made that, it was our own. This is, again, is an accident that turned out to be good for us. None of the record companies would sign us. You know, and we went to every record company. Me and Ricky would dress up like we were business guys trying to manage our own band. They were like, wait a minute, aren't you the singer of the band? I'm like, no, I'm the manager.
So
you know?
Hollywood, I love
it was. I mean, I'm like trying to dress up like I'm somebody else and, you know, give them demos like I'm a big Hollywood, you know, manager. And they're like, aren't you the singer in the band? I'm like, yeah. So we'd hand them demos and really, you know, give them all of our stuff. And we went to Atlantic Records, Capitol, everybody. They all turned us down. So we raised enough money. We raised about $10,000, you know. And we went into the studio and we made our own record on our own label. And it was Look What the Cat Dragged In. In fact, here's where our controversy with our band starts. Our first producer, Rick Browdy, me and him are in the studio and he tells us, look, Talk Dirty to Me is way too fast. He was trying to change everything that we were. And our first producer and me get into a fist fight in the studio. Literally, you know, around the board, he's chasing him. He finally leaves the studio and we almost did the whole record on our very own with our engineer, Jim Fromage, who later went on to work with Guns N' Roses. And Talk Dirty to Me would have never hit had we done it his way. He wanted this da-da-da-da, like real slow, almost like a ballad. And we're like, no, that's not the way we play it. We're this young, energetic band, and we want the song to have energy.
Well, you know yourself better than anyone else, that's for sure.
That's it.
Is it true that Slash auditioned for the band?
That is extremely true. He's actually, and is a friend to this day, and although there was a bit of rivalry between us, it was mostly in the press because Slash is actually a very cool guy, very low-key, kind of cool guy. And the bitterness between me and CeCe started when Slash came in and played, and CeCe came in and played, and we narrowed it down to two guys. And I chose Slash. I'm like, and then Slash wanted to have another guitar player, and I'm like, no, I play guitar too. And I think that was the bitterness that started between me and CeCe, because I thought they were both great guitar players. And I said, well, I think Slash has got this song. And then CeCe came in the next day with Talk Dirty to Me, and I'm like, man, I love that song too. But Slash wanted to be in a band with, you know, five members, and that's what he was looking for. And we said, no, we're not going to get another guitar player because I also play and I want to do that. And that's really how it came down. And then me and CeCe obviously have had a great love-hate relationship.
Okay, well, we're going to talk some more with Bret Michaels when we return, but first, here is a video from Poison on Power Hour. Hey, metalheads, you definitely know who this guy is, Bret Michaels of Poison. We've got lots more coming up with him on Power Hour.
People have said a few times, you know, is the image or the makeup or this or that to cover up something the music lacks. That's not the case at all. I'm sure with some bands they do that, okay? With Poison, I think that, you know, you spend the first half of your career sort of like defending it. But now the record, the fact that it's sold, it's almost double platinum in the States and gold here in Canada, I think that's starting to speak for itself that, you know, you couldn't be touring this long and get away with it, have that many record sales and get away with it if you were faking it or it was just a bunch of hype.
We're a glam band, which means that we took that glitter, punk, hard rock, heavy metal thing, smashed it all together, broke down all the barriers, and said, you know, we're not going to be one thing, we're going to be all those things. We're going to have the raw edge to us. At the same time, we're going to polish it enough that it works with a big live stage show. We can do all those things. And that's what I think we are. And yeah, of course, that is missing a little bit. There's not a whole lot of them doing it. And we're blessed that we are still here doing that.
All right, well, we're chatting with Bret Michaels of Poison. Let's get personal now,
Okay, I'm ready to get personal.
You became a daddy in 2000.
Yes.
So you, of all people, know what pigs men can be, right? So
I do.
I'm wondering, what are you going to do when your daughter gets to the age where she wants to date? What kind of a father are you going to be?
This is a great question because I'll tell you why. It is the strangest feeling even now. She's 3 years old. And, you know, I got her in preschool, right? And I see the little boy that she likes, you know, and she plays hard to get with him, and he makes a move on her. And it makes me agitated now. You know, I'm like, you know, because I know what all guys are thinking, you know what I mean? He ain't buddying up because he wants the crayons, you know what I mean? So I think when she hits
Even at age 3, come on.
No, I'm telling you right now, we had evil on our mind. I was evil at young. I knew what I wanted to be evil. And, you know, and he's agreeing with me. Look, the camera was going, And so anyway, it's going to be, I got to tell you, all the rotten, evil things I've done in my life are going to come back to haunt me when she's about 15 years old and has the Britney Spears pants on and the top, and the guys
So what
are
age can she start dating?
You know, I'll probably have to chaperone it until she's about 35, 40, and then after that, she can have a kiss, and then I'll let it go from there, you know. You just see me in the back of the car, you know, knees wrapped.
Your silhouette, always there, always there.
Right.
Spot well done. Why haven't you ever gotten married?
I've been engaged several times,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it is. I got cold feet at the end. My mom and dad got divorced, you know, and maybe that plays a little bit of a part in it. You know, I don't want to go all deep on it, but I'm just saying there's many levels as to why, you know.
Okay.
But I think the main reason is that I just, right at the end, I don't know what it is. You know, all men, there's a million movies about this, you know, where they get, right at the very end, they get cold feet. Doesn't mean I can't be a good commitment.
Yes.
It just means I get a little paranoid right at the very end.
You do.
Yeah.
We've got lots more to talk about with Bret, but first let's check out one of his biggest hits. We're going to check out Every Rose Has Its Thorn on Power Hour.
She's awesome.
After the break, we've got more with Bret Michaels of Poison, so don't go away.
With Poison is, if anything we're trying to go out and do is to sell excitement.
It's the people that work hard every day that, you know, have the money to come see the concerts, and they want to be entertained, you know. Entertainment or death, they want it. And they're the kind of people you got to face every night on stage. You better look good, be able to sound good, and have a great show, or you're not going to get away with it too long. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is live up to the hype.
When we're on stage, we do move around, and we do jump around, and we go crazy, and we are out there to make the audience get off. And when we stop doing that, that's when you got to start worrying. You know what I'm saying? When all of a sudden you're going out there and you're like bored, you know, blow a pyrotechnic off, I'm not in the mood to move tonight, that's when you start to fail.
Hey, welcome back to Power Hour. We're chatting with Bret Michaels of Poison. Okay, let's talk about your 1988 release, Open Up and Say Ah. Definitely the big album.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so that must have been crazy times. I mean, women must have been throwing themselves at you. Yes?
Yeah, well, I wasn't complaining, believe me. Growing up being, you know, I was, and back then, I was the perfect mix between stoner and jock. You know what I mean? When I grew up, I was like the jock. I loved to play football, I love sports, and I'm an extreme sports guy, but I also was, you know, I love to party and have a good time.
Surfing would be perfect for you.
Surfing was right there. I was the Spicoli of my time, with a few brain cells left, right? It was an awesome time, and the reason for it is, we went in to do Open Up and Say Ah, and it was such a great feeling, you know, because we had now had an opportunity to go in and write a new record, and the great thing about Poison is between CeCe, Bobby, Ricky, and myself, we did the same thing. We went to this small rehearsal hall and we just wrote songs, you know, and those songs, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, all that stuff, we all kind of bring in different ideas and thoughts, and we just said, let's just write a great record. And then CeCe went on a drunk binge.
Yeah, what was the, okay, because essentially, you know, you guys definitely had problems, and that was shown at the MTV Video Music Awards.
Yes, we say yes.
You
Well,
know, what was the problem?
On Open Up and Say Ah, we were all at the height of enjoying and partying, you know what I mean? I would be lying to say, I was like a kid going to college, really. It was like a big frat party, only we could do it all the time. And, you know, everyone, you know what's weird? When you finally start to make it, when you can almost afford to buy something, everyone starts just giving it to you for free.
Yeah.
You know, so it looked like Scarface at the end, you know, with the pile of, you know, I won't say it, but, you know, the blow.
Okay,
and
but wait a second.
Right.
You're diabetic, so how could you partake in all of those substances?
Not well, but I managed to get through them, and, you know, I managed to, like I said, I'd have a great time, and then the next day when everyone else was sleeping off their hangover, I'd go out and work out and do my thing, and it was painful sometimes, and I learned some harsh lessons along the way, but that's all part of growing, you know, it's part of learning. There's no one who gives you a manual to what to do when you're making it in a rock band. You got to figure it out on your own. But CeCe, we were doing Open Up and Say Ah, and CeCe, we lost him for about 3 weeks, was it, Rob? We lost him to some, let's just call it a binge, and he was gone. So I did Every Rose by myself. And then the night I finished it, I was so happy. I got on my Harley and I left the studio and I racked, ended up in the hospital for a couple days. And but in doing all this, we were still having a great time, you know. And it was some wild, I can truly say, some wild times.
All right, we're going to talk some more about some of your future projects and your latest solo album when we return with Bret Michaels. But first, let's check out Unskinny Bop on Power Hour.
Don't you go away. I got a lot more stories to tell. Actually, we got a lot more stories to tell. Check it out.
You know, rock and roll is all attitude, you know what I mean? But the toilet paper still sticks to the bottom of my boa constrictor skin boots just like it does anyone else's. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter. You know, when you start getting to that level where you start thinking you're above someone else is when you start to fail. And I think no matter what, I think that people are honestly seeing in Poison the heart and soul behind the band, and I think that that's the songs come from the heart. When you stop singing from that and you stop feeling when you start playing songs just to make a hit, that's when you fail. And if something becomes a pop song, that does not make it commercial, that just means it's a popular song. But when you start writing songs just to be popular, then you start to fail.
We have people that love us, we have people that hate us, but more than anything, it causes a passion for the music we play, and you see that on stage, and that's what shines through.
Hey, welcome back to Power Hour. We're chatting with Bret Michaels of Poison. Now, one thing I did notice about your movie career is that Charlie Sheen is in pretty much every movie that you produce.
Right.
So are you guys very good friends, I guess?
Yeah, Charlie and I would consider us to be great friends, and the reason we became friends is we both dated the same girl. She was a penthouse pet, and this was way back when. I won't go into any further details. Not at the same time. It wasn't at the same time. Yeah, she had a great personality, actually, and beautiful girl, and I had finished dating her, and I had started dating Pamela at the time, and she took me up to. She was now dating Charlie. And she called me in my house. It ends up my house. We both lived down in Malibu, and she called me on the phone and said, hey, he's throwing a real small private party, and Something to Believe in is one of his all-time favorite songs. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool, because we passed each other several times on the road. And I said, great. I said, I'd love to come up. And we came up, and he ended up being one of the coolest people I've been around. I know he has a reputation then as this partier, hellraiser, but Charlie's actually one of the coolest people.
Right on. Okay, and then you've got this new solo album, of course. What does that give you, being able to express yourself without the backing of a band?
For me, that's what it's all about for me, is being able to be creative and self-expression and making music. And Poison is as much part of me as obviously Bobby, Ricky, and Cece. But they all know straight up that I am this driven person that likes to go out and create. And for me, being able to make a solo record in my own music, same as I've done with film and a lot of other things in my career, it's just something I need to do. And they don't stop me, and that's the beauty of Poison, is we don't smother each other. We've allowed each other to go do the things we want because we're four extremely different personalities.
So what is the future of Poison?
For us, for me, you know, obviously let me start with Cece. You know, having Cece back with us, you know, after my car wreck and all that stuff, we hooked back up. We made a few records without him, which musically I thought were great, but I didn't have the feel like Cece. Having Cece back is awesome. Obviously, Ricky and Bobby and myself, this is what we plan on doing. As long as my knees will hold up, you know what I mean? And we can go out on that stage and play. Right now, we're out playing the arenas, and that's where we want to stay, just putting on a great show for as long as possible, and always continuing to make new music, but still always draw from our catalog of hits.
Okay, Bret, thank you so much. If you have a chance to see Poison forming, you guys are on a wicked show.
Thank you.
And we are going to leave it now with the first single from Songs of Life, your solo album, which came out earlier this year. Here's Rain on Power Hour.
Check it out.